Good evening and good to have you with us on this edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, there is a lot of anger, not just in the state of Tamil Nadu, but across the country. Anybody who has heard the story that has emerged from Thoothukudi is extremely outraged. The story of Jayaraj and his son Fenix, a father and son who ran a small little mobile store shop in Thoothukudi. On June 19th, they opened this shop, even though largely there has been a lockdown everywhere, a mobile store. The police came about and took away the father, took away Jayaraj for questioning. When the son found out about this, he went to the police station. Reports suggest there was argument, heated argument, there was an altercation between the two sides. And then both were thrown in the lockup. From Friday night till Saturday morning, those who know what happened there or were in that area claim that the lockup, that room, that door never opened. We don't know what went on inside. But we do know that 3 days later, Jayaraj and his son Fenix were no more. They died out of serious injuries in a hospital. They were taken straight from being in the custody of the police to the hospital when they were in a really bad state, and then they died. There have been protests in that town. The family is shattered. The daughter, the woman who's lost her father and brother, is unable to talk properly. Yet she found the courage to describe what happened. And even if you hear what Percy has to say, it is heartbreaking, the kind of brutality that was unleashed on these two, who in many ways have died in police custody. Not only that, so far, nobody has been arrested. Just as a face saver to fool the people, to mislead the people that we are taking some action, 2 cops have been suspended. That's all. We don't even know about the post-mortem, about the autopsy. The Madras High Court has had to step in. The autopsy report was supposed to be submitted, but that's been delayed. It's been over a week now since they were first picked up, and we are still not getting clear answers what happened, except for the fact that local media says there are eyewitnesses, except for the fact that even the family members say that they were beaten up so badly that their clothes had to be changed multiple times. Blood-soaked clothes were sent back to the family, allegedly. And their clothes were changed more than once. Such is the sheer brutality that has taken place in Thoothukudi in Tamil Nadu. Why should we not be talking about this? Why should the entire country not be asking the question, why has nobody been arrested? That's my only question tonight, viewers. I want to know what action will be taken. We cannot bring back Jayaraj or his son, but some justice has to be given. Police brutality is becoming an unfortunate reality and is, like the High Court said, is becoming a pandemic in this country. Yes, these are not my words. The Madras High Court observed this, that police beating up the public is also a dangerous pandemic. And there are case after case that emerge in our country, not just from Tamil Nadu. So even though tonight I start this show with the painful story that has emerged from Tamil Nadu and demand justice for this family, I am going to then also talk about the nationwide problem that has to be fixed. Let's say good evening to the panelists who are joining us right now. Kovai Satyan, spokesperson for the AIA-DMK. A. Sarvanan, spokesperson for DMK. M. Karunanidhi, a retired police officer who is joining us this evening. And Dhanya Rajendran, editor for the News Minute. In fact, Dhanya and her team have also extensively covered this story, and I just want to go through her for some more details about that. That has been a week, and even a week later, all that we know is that 2 cops have been suspended, that too after much outrage. Is there a big concern about a cover-up that may be going on?
Well, definitely there is that concern considering the fact that we have had previous instances of police brutality. Now, the degree of brutality for me does not matter because so many people have been brutalized. There have been murders by the police, shootouts. But which policeman has been punished in the last few years? So there is obviously a lack of conviction, lack of confidence in what the state government or the police force itself will do, whether they will act upon their own. The second problem, of course, is that the postmortem report is not out. The medical college hospital where the postmortem was done, they had asked for 2 days. In fact, the postmortem happened day before yesterday night. But till today, the postmortem report has not been submitted. So we are thinking that perhaps it will be submitted only on Monday. Till then, the family is on tenterhooks, right? Because the FIR as of now does not have any murder charges or any charges against the policemen who had arrested and assaulted these men. So till the postmortem report actually confirms some of these injuries, the family really will be in this depression that there is no justice for them. So I hope the postmortem report comes fast and the Kovilpatti magistrate will ask the police to file FIR against the policemen who are involved in this incident.
No, you're absolutely right. And in fact, this has to be one of the biggest questions, which is that why is it that the post-mortem report has still not come, viewers? They died on the intervening night of Monday night, Tuesday morning. And today is Friday night. And that's going to be one of the other big questions we will ask. But I want to play out what Selvarani, the wife of Jayaraj, and Percy, the daughter of Jayaraj, had to say. This is the heartbroken family who's waiting for answers, who really has no idea what went wrong, how did their life turn upside down in just 1 week. Listen.
அடிச்சு என் என் பிள்ளைக்கு நிறைய ரத்தம் போய் என் 3வது சட்டையில் கூட என் வீட்டில் கிடக்கு ரத்தமாக கிடக்கு மற்றதெல்லாம் அங்கே தூக்கி போட்டு வந்துட்டாங்க. என் பிள்ளை 2 என்னன்னு செத்தான்னு எனக்கு தெரியல. அங்கே நான் போகலை. என் நம்பரை நான் கொடுக்கவே இல்லை. எப்படி வாங்கினாங்களோ தெரியல. என் தம்பி நம்பர் தான் கொடுத்தேன். அவனுக்கு ஃபோன் போடாமல் எனக்கு போட்டு நீங்கள் யாருன்னா ஃபெனிக்ஸ் அம்மாவா நான் உடனே வாங்க உங்கள் பையனுக்கு ப்ரெஷர் ஏறிட்டுனாங்க. அப்புறம் நான் என் தம்பிக்கு ஃபோன் போட்டு இப்படி சொல்கிறாங்க போவோன்ட்டு நாங்கள் 6 நரி வரைக்கும் போனோம். ரொம்ப அதிகமாக இருக்குது அப்படின்னாங்க. கூப்பிடுறதுக்கு முன்ன அவனையும் கொண்டு போய் உள்ள வச்சுட்டானுங்களே. இங்கேருந்து எங்கள் அப்பாவை கூட்டு போய் ஸ்டேஷனுக்குள்ளே தள்ளி அடித்து ஒரு மகன் முன்னாடி தகப்பன் அடித்தா மகனால் தாங்க முடியுமா? ஏயா விசாரணைன்னு தானேயா கூட்டு போனீங்க, ஏயா அடிச்சிங்கன்னு கேட்டதுக்கு அவனையும் போட்டு அடின்னு அடிச்சு ஆண்டவர் ஆண்டவர் ஐயோ அவனா ரத்த காயங்கள் உடம்பு முழுச ரத்தம் விடிய 1:30 மணி வரை அடிச்சிருக்காங்க. எங்கள் மாமா கெஞ்சினாங்க, அடிச்சிட்டிங்களா ஐயா விட்டுருங்க, நாங்கள் மெடிக்கல் வச்சு நாங்கள் பார்த்துக்கிறோம். ஆனால் விட மாட்டேன், இறக்கமே செய்யலை. அந்நேரம் ஸ்டேஷனில் அத்தனை போலீஸும் போட்டு அடிச்சிருக்காங்க. என் தம்பி இறந்த ஃபோட்டோ நான் பார்க்குறேன். ஆண்டவரே, அந்த ஃபோட்டோவில் அவனுக்கு நெஞ்சு முடி அவ்வளோ இருக்கும். நெஞ்சு முடி எல்லாம் பிடிக்கிருக்காங்க.
Viewers, you heard that, heartbroken, saying that my father was beaten by the police inside the station in front of my brother. My brother couldn't tolerate the assault on my father and he questioned why the cops were beating him. The cops then attacked and assaulted the brother. His whole body was bruised and bleeding. My uncle was begging to the police to release them, but they did not show any mercy. All the policemen at the station were involved in beating up my brother. I saw the pictures of his dead body. All his chest hair had been plucked. They had to change his clothes 3 times as he was bleeding profusely. Kovai, it took much outrage for the suspension of these 2 cops. Is the government satisfied with the action that's been taken in this case?
First of all, I extend my condolences and sympathies to the great family. On a personal note,
The duty of an elected government is to ensure that people who are in the public life or people who are in the government service doesn't take law into their hands. And that's the only message which our CM has sent out. And definitely nobody will be spared who has taken law into their hands. I just want to make a small note with your permission, Tanvi. The government is not standing behind the people who have committed this heinous crime. Nor the government is trying to defend, nor the government is making any statements whatsoever in those lines and those languages. On 19th night, they were taken into custody. On the 20th morning, they were produced before the magistrate and they were sent to the prison. On 22nd evening, Mr. Fenix passed away. On 23rd morning, his father passed away. Within 5 years of hearing this, the government, the police, two police were suspended, one were moved to the pending list, and there was a judicial magistrate level inquiry which has been ordered. On 24th, the High Court took a suo motu cognizance of the same. Now we are in 2 days' time. On 26th, they had asked for the details, and the DSP and the SP and the respective people have given their evidence and submitted their evidence in this matter. Now, as you are aware, justice can't be instantaneous. It can't be like a social media handle where people can vent their anger and outrage and say that this is how the justice has to be rendered. There is a legal framework and it has to go by the law. And our Chief Minister had ensured that there is a compensation as well as a job.
No, but what do you think happened, Kovai Satyan? Satyan, what do you think happened here? Did they die of COVID disease? What do you think they died of? Why did they die?
Neither I was present nor you were present. It's all hearsay. And even each and every statement made out by the family members means a lot. So I'm certainly not in the investigative panel to understand what it is. It is said that the police have committed this crime. If that were to be proven, yes, it is heinous. And you have maybe mentioned it, I would term it as barbaric. But at the same time, we have to ensure
4 days later, we don't know what they died of. 4 days later, you can't tell me how did they die. Can you at least tell me what are the charges against the two cops who've been suspended?
There is a legal framework. There is a process. 2 FIRs have been filed. And within 5 years of this, 5 hours of this incident, if 2 are suspended, there is an indication from the government side that the government has taken cognizance of the facts. The government has not tried to hide anything or whatsoever it is.
No,
I want to reiterate.
This is lip service. This is lip service.
News reaching to the government.
An FIR that is filed that does not name and does not book the policemen who were in charge of the police station where this incident happened is of no use. That FIR is of no use, Kovai Satyan. A mere suspension is of no use. Everybody knows how this works. We attempted to transfer them out, then we suspended them. We are hoping that the people forget about this in a couple of weeks and everybody can move on with their lives. They will perhaps just be sent to another town.
No, Tanvi, I want to recall the incident where it was in the case of Subhashri. You chased me for 13 days on accountability. I gave a word in this channel to you and said that yes, justice will be rendered and that the person who has committed will be behind the bar irrespective of an AIDMK functionary. The same is what I am assuring today in your channel. They will not be spared. People who have committed this heinous crime will definitely not be spared. People who have taken law into their hands will definitely not be spared. It's a message from the CM. Now, there is a pending inquiry and let the inquiry get over and definitely, yes, there are already 2 FIRs which is there and if required, yes, charges will be pressed against them. Whatever the toughest charges, whatever it has been as per
Kovai Satyan, you know why? Yes, but I'm sure you understand and I just want to make this clear. Why nobody is going to be buying into these assurances until we see action? This is the same place, this is the same police that resorted to open firing at protesters 2 years ago. Even then we were given assurances that with due process of law, action will be taken. I'm reading a report as of May 2020 that says till date no official has been held for the death of 13 protesters and the subsequent riots. Till date. For an incident that happened 2 years ago. So, I'm sure you will understand that nobody is buying these assurances until we see action on ground. This is the same police and look what's happening now as in the name of police cracking down on the so-called violators of the lockdown. Stay with me. Dhanya wanted to make a point. Let Dhanya Rajendran come in here and I will come back to you with more questions, Kovai.
Now, I agree with Koe Satyan's point that there is a legal process and that, yes, the FIR will name the two police officers once the postmortem comes in. But I just want to point out that all the so-called legalese and legal procedures matter only when someone within the system is accused of something heinous. I mean, the police absolutely do not apply their brains when they file any other sort of FIR. They file FIR for everything under the sun. But when it comes to filing FIR against their own people, then they're suddenly reminded about legal procedures. And let's also not forget that at least one of these policemen has had a previous complaint against him for custodial violence. The other question, I think Sharavanan can also talk about it because he's a lawyer, is what is the role of the magistrate here? The police beat up these people. There are many eyewitnesses to it. Next day, the two of them are taken to a doctor for a medical certificate. The magistrate just robotically gives remand judicial custody without physically checking if these two men were injured. So I think that this is a case which once again tells us that we need strict police reforms. And second is that magistrates should stop acting as robots.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, there have been now the questions that are being raised about what happened in that time, because the reports suggest that the jail authorities say when they came to when they were sent to jail, they were already bleeding. If they were already in that state, why were they not at that point of time taken to the hospital and given treatment? Saravanan, come in here. Is this as per law? And like Dhanya said, perhaps this is the law, but is the law same for policemen and for the common man then?
See, what has happened is a very, very brutal crime, the likes of which Tamil Nadu had never seen in its history. You have rightly pointed out how 2 years ago, 13 people were killed for protesting in cold blood. The chief minister came and said he watched all those things. He came to know about all those things only after watching the television. That is the kind of a chief minister we are having, and he now comes and preempts everything. He says they died because of breathlessness and some other medical issue. Why should the chief minister come out and preempt the postmortem certificate, the postmortem report? It is pending investigation. Who is the chief minister to come on, pronounce verdict on the cause of the death? Will this not put a fork on the investigation? I don't know why they want to protect these police officers. See, as pointed out by Dhanya, this magistrate's inquiry is pure hogwash. The relevant provisions of the Criminal Procedure Code, it clearly states that any investigation into custodial death by the magistrate is in addition to the investigation conducted by the police. So what is the police doing now? Why no charge under 302? That is the question everybody is asking. Is it if just because it is policemen, can they do anything what they want? I don't know why the top-ranking officials who are doing their best at trying to protect these people, by doing so, they are putting a blot on the record of the Tamil Nadu police. We are proud of them, but this is not the way they should handle when the allegation is against one of them. This will, in fact, if prompt action is taken, this will really send a loud and clear message that no police officer should exceed his authority. But for reasons best known to them, the chief minister, the ADMK government, and everybody in the line are trying to shield these officials. Our leader, Mr. M.K. Stalin, has questioned this. He said, is this a democratically run government or a police state where what the police does is supreme? No answers from the ruling party. Our leader, one of our leaders, Madam Kanimodi, is there on the ground. We have announced a relief of around 25 lakhs to them. Yeah. The chief minister says she died out of breathlessness, but the government gives 10 lakhs to them. If they have died out of breathlessness, why should they give them 10 lakhs?
No, I'm just still trying to wrap my head around the fact that the family says they were given in blood-soaked clothes. Blood-soaked clothes of their family members who had been taken away. I mean, let me just actually go to an expert on this point and ask Mr. Karunanidhi. Mr. Karunanidhi, from your viewpoint, as an experienced policeman, where all do you see lapses? For somebody who may have opened a store in times of a lockdown to ending up dead in the custody, where all should the police be held accountable for what happened?
Yes, it is absolutely wrong on the part of the police officer who is the SHO. It is not supposed to do like this. There is the present situation because of this corona thing is very, very tense situation. It's an extraordinary situation. So the Director General of Police has given instructions that nobody should be brought to the police station. Even in important cases, the arrest need not be done. It is the clear instruction is there. It is just a violation of order promulgated by the government, and that is even if it is a cognizable the arresting responsibilities if the investigating officer he can arrest or may not arrest. There is no need for him to arrest and brought him to the police station. That is absolutely wrong on his part. And all the other, given the situation, given the information received so far, we cannot buy all this argument. It is with the magisterial inquiry, under magisterial inquiry, only on magisterial inquiry we can proceed. As you said, if the suspension and the transfers are not punishments. It is an interim action. There is a procedure. As per procedure, immediate action is suspension and transfer. But it is not a final one. After magisterial inquiry, the postmortem certificate, all other eyewitnesses will be taken into consideration. All piecing up together, the magistrate will give a final report. On that, the police investigation will be commenced by either CBCID or some special team. That is separate. But nobody will support this cause. Nobody will support this incident. Everybody knows that it is the extra excess on the part of the police officer. So, even the announcement of the announcement by the.
But the big question here, Mr. Karunanidhi, is that there seems to be an attempt to protect their own. There seems to be an attempt to protect the policemen in this context. Shouldn't there at least be a criminal case against them, naming these two by now? The investigation can go on, but if it was any other case, and if the accused were somebody who's not wearing a uniform, we would have put them behind bars by now.
That is different. That is different. Other cases are different. When police officer, when doing the duty, go in excess, that is procedure should be followed. The actual death in custody should be inquired previously. It was inquired by RDO, Revenue Divisional Officer. Now it has been changed to Judicial Magistrate. Only Judicial Magistrate should submit the report. That will be an FIR. Then only the case will stand. If you have not followed the procedure, that will become the fatal of this case. The case will end in acquittal. The defense lawyer will take this stand that the police has not followed the procedure. The magistrate is not conducted. The inquiry should be conducted by the magistrate. The postmortem was done by the team of doctors. It was videographed. The postmortem was videographed. Everything there is a procedure issued by the court. So on that procedure, it should be done and it should be successfully prosecuted. We cannot compare it with an ordinary murder case. It is not an ordinary murder case. It is a custodial death. So the preliminary inquiry should be conducted by magistrate only, not by police.
Well, I would say, okay, magistrate and not by police, because I would not have the faith in the police to investigate their own and then do justice to it. But Kovai Satyan, why is it taking so long for the autopsy report, for the post-mortem report to be given? When will we get that?
No, they'd ask for a time of 24 hours to 48 hours to submit the report. And my point is pretty much simple. There is a judicial inquiry, there is a magisterial level inquiry underway. And all I can say is within the same panel after 48 hours or 72 hours, we can still take up the same topic and discuss whether the justice is rendered or not. Justice is certainly not instantaneous. How we can have it our own way. My principal opposition might think that it is instantaneous. And they still carry the black mark in 2008. They questioned about our Chief Minister's capability. Let me ask Mr. Saravanan one simple question. Isn't it the Chief Minister, Mr. Karunanidhi, unleashed violence inside the Madras High Court and thrashed the police and the thrashed the lawyers and the judges inside the High Court premises using the same police? I mean, it's very much simple. How you bring in transparency and how you conduct your governance is what matters the most. As far as that is concerned, our Chief Minister had sent out a message and he had assured saying that whoever has taken the law in their hand, they will not be spared. And if there is an arrest and if there is a criminal charges which has been filed on these people after 2 or 3 days, and I hope everybody would admit that the government has done the justice and it has walked their talk. And I assure you that we will walk our talk. Our Chief Minister will walk his talk. He is not somebody who just for the sake of pacifying some people, make out statements and walk away. We are not like our opposition who wants to have an extensive media trial conducted on it and try to drive the people and unshielding them under the name of the people and try to drive the people stating that this is the charges that needs to be framed, that is the charges that needs to be framed. We are not here for media trial. We will ensure the family and we assure the family that justice will be rendered to them.
Well, I am not too fond of this word called media trial. It's our job to ask questions, and that's what we do. More often than not, we discover that the minute media stops asking questions or moves on, the case is closed, the file is dumped somewhere, and no action is taken after that. And so the only way we actually see in many instances, Dhanya Rajendran, is that until we keep the pressure on and keep asking these questions, we do not see the end result emerge. If people have forgotten about the Sterlite firing case, the case investigation will go on forever as it is right now.
5 seconds. I didn't mean media trial for national media. There are 40 channels here in Tamil Nadu which are doing the media trial since that incidents broke. And yes, definitely they are trying to drive an agenda and they are trying to rope in personality.
Why should 40 Tamil channels not be talking about it? What is your reason to say that 40 Tamil channels should not be talking about it? Let me say, the police in the FIR, no, I'm sorry, the police in the FIR has actually said something like, the two men rolled on the floor, which is why they had internal injuries. After the death, there were police officers who came on record and said that these two men had other health issues, which is why they just died one fine morning. I'm sorry, so why should the media, 40 or 60 Tamil channels, not be asking the same question to you, that why did top police officers say this? Why did the FIR say something as foolish as the men were rolling on the floor, so they had internal injuries? Now, come on, like, who even thinks of such a justification?
No, Dhanya, you're getting me wrong. I'm not saying media should not question. Media should question. And I'm saying that we are on the same page as yours. My point is like, you cannot fix a verdict and drive an agenda behind it. That's what the Tamil channels, which are predominantly operated by DMK, are doing. They are fixing, saying that this is the charges that needs to be pressed against the policemen. On what count they are saying it? Let the investigation get over. If you're not happy or satisfied with the investigation, you still have the means and ways to get it done. My point is, why do you want to fix an agenda saying that this is
the police?
This is how they have
Satyan is trying to bring in new kind of legislation. He is quoting new laws. See,
one at a time, please.
There is a death, and it is
one at a time, please. One at a time.
Can I comment, Tanvi?
No, I didn't complete mine. But anyways, Mr. Saravanan
No,
wants to
Yes,
comment.
okay, Saravanan, go ahead, please.
See, Mr. Satyan, we have a set of legal rules. You'll have to act according to it, whether the opposition wants it that way or not. We are asking you to act as per the law. When there is a death, when there is a suspicion thrown on the death, it is imperative that Section 302 is invoked. Why have you not invoked Section 302? That is the question. We are not saying you should do it. That is the law. This is not the opposition party which asked. The 302 is here. 302 is here for the last 200 years. This is not done by DMK. So don't try to say that everything is being done by DMK.
The procedure for custodial
Okay.
Custodial death.
Okay. Please, I don't want a political fight. Please, let's not have a political fight on this issue. I don't want random allegations being made against political parties. That's not the point of this conversation at all. I want to go back to the point that Dhanya raised and Mr. Kovai Satyan. Why should the media not ask these questions? What kind of a description are we putting in an FIR? Aren't these clear, blatant attempts to give a clean shit to the policeman?
No, absolutely not. Tanvi, please understand what I'm trying to say. These people were presented in front of the magistrate, and magistrate gave a chit to them to be put behind the bars. And there is a doctor certificate which states that these people are clean and clear. There is an ecosystem which is involved.
And everybody bought the explanation. Okay. No. Kovai, just take a deep breath and tell me, think about what you are trying to tell me to buy. You are expecting.
No, Tanvi, I didn't complete. Please don't jump into assumption. Everybody who had not done their duty are liable to be punished. My point is pretty much simple. You are training your guns only against the policeman, but the ecosystem which you are blaming, like how Dhanya pointed out. The magistrate has done his duty. Has he done his duty? Or the medical officer who had examined them, has he done his duty? Or the jail officials or the jail wardens, have they done their duty? It is an ecosystem, and you're talking about reforms. That's how reforms happens, and everybody has to be put accountable. They are accountable for this. That's why there is an investigation process. It's not like instantaneous. How my fellow friend Saranand is saying, why you didn't put this charge being the policeman? The buck doesn't stop along only with the policeman. Don't you see a larger picture there?
Mr.
Or do you want to trial it?
Please don't teach
And
law to me.
what is the need
No,
for
the first
investigation there?
requirement when a death happens, when a murder happens, is to register a case under Section 302.
Hey, that is
Don't say that the policeman
One minute, please, 1 minute. 1 minute, please, gentlemen. Wait on a second. I just want to put out a simple fact here for our viewers to listen and understand. The Tamil Nadu police, the Thoothukudi police expects people to believe, apparently it's a part of the system even believed, that these men had serious injuries on their bodies because they were rolling on the floor. And this was bought, medical certificate given, and they were sent to jail. And you are telling me that due process, we will have to wait for the due process?
Yes. When the case is there, the custodial death, only the magistrate inquiry will be the first complaint. On that only the investigation will start. The magistrate inquiry is the final one. On that only investigation will start, and before the magistrate only, these people who are willing to give the evidence should appear before them and give the evidence. Let them give all the documents, all the evidence with them. They are telling that they are having blood-stained cloth with them, and they are telling that they have seen very well.
I want to.
Let them tell. Piecing together the magistrate.
I want to go back to Mr. Karunanidhi. Mr. Karunanidhi. Okay, Mr. Karunanidhi, you're the expert. Tell me, what am I supposed to, take away from this kind of a process, where such shoddy details, which nobody will be convinced of, are written in the FIR, that these injuries are because they were rolling on the floor, they're taken, their medical test is done, the magistrate signs on it, they're sent to the jail. At no point anybody bothered to really see why they were in that state, and that this was all a sham on paper. Is it that in the entire system nobody cares?
The record created by or record made by the police officer will not have the hold on this investigation. The magistrate will conduct the inquiry freely, and evidence before him will be the final one. On the evidence produced before him, he will give the final report. He will give the report to the government that this thing had happened. It is purely a custodial death or the natural death. He will give, taking into consideration the medical report also. On that only we can come to a conclusion. The record made by the police officers will not have any stand on this. It is not a it may be a temporary, it may be a false, it may be a true. That is not at all. Now it is very premature to tell that it is a final record. It is a true record. It is not at all argued by me. I am not arguing that the record created by the police officers are correct. Now at this stage we cannot tell anything. Whether it is true or not, the magistrate is to decide based on the medical evidence. Medical officer will give what is the cause of injury. The injuries are found on the body, whether it is made by beating or it is because of the rolling on the floor. He will tell which is the fatal injury and what is the cause of death.
No, so that's the question. That's exactly the question I'm asking, Mr. Karunanidhi. Shouldn't there then be also an investigation into what is it that the medical expert, what kind of a medical report did they generate and give? Could they not see how badly these two had been beaten up and how badly they were injured? What kind of process was even followed by the magistrate who passed down the remand orders and sent them to the prison without actually examining their physical fitness? Because if he would have seen these people died within hours after that.
I am talking about the magistrate report of the inquiry magistrate. The magistrate who is going to conduct inquiry on this
yes, you are talking about the inquiry.
But you are telling about the report of that remanded magistrate. the magistrate who remanded the prisoner. That I am not speaking about because
Yes.
it is under
Yes, I am. I am
it
asking
is
you
under
if there should be an investigation there.
Yes, that also should be investigated. Whether he has done it properly or without seeing the prisoner, he wrote on his own. That we have to, the magistrate will inquire on this. If it is so, he will be also taken to task. No doubt.
Okay, very quickly, before I let Dhanya Rajendran go on this and we move on to the big nationwide problem, there is, Dhanya, one comment that the Madras High Court made that is actually going to lead into our next conversation is about police brutality and how police assaults on public is also a dangerous pandemic. In fact, Tamil Nadu, even on the national list, is second with the number of custodial deaths that we see every year, only behind Gujarat. That it is a big systemic problem, isn't it?
Of course, and when I see the outrage, especially on social media, people doing this hashtag justice for Fenix, Fenix is a hashtag they're using, and Jayaraj. What I want to tell those people is that custodial violence is a huge problem in this country. Police brutality is a huge problem. In 2017, there were around 100 deaths reported in custodial violence. Not a single policeman was convicted in any of these cases. The last 3 years, not one policeman convicted. Every time there is a case of custodial violence, we have to be outraged. Now, in this case, I believe that it is also because there was sexual torture involved that people are more outraged than any other case. But, keeping all our politics aside, every time there is police brutality, these same questions should be asked. No matter if the grade of brutality was higher or lower in every case. The point is that as a nation, we have to understand that we really, really need police reforms. And supporting police in any kind of brutality, even if it's shooting at a crowd which you believe was wrong in marching to a company like Sterlite, if you support police violence when they take rape accused like they did in Hyderabad and they've been alleged of just shooting these people down, any kind of police brutality has to be questioned, because if we allow this grade of police brutality, remember, we are going to get a higher grade.
Yes, it's a very well made point that if we allow this, if we continue to look away now, it's only going to worsen. It's only going to embolden those bad apples in the uniform who think they can get away with this, who think they have some kind of a higher power and there's some kind of a higher authority, that they can abuse it and get away, because they do. Case after case that has emerged in our country will show you, viewers, that in incidences of police brutality, a very few percentage is where the policemen actually get criminally booked. A large percentage of the cases are simply closed, forgotten, policemen transferred, shunted to another place, and that becomes the problem. In fact, I want to highlight this not just in normal times. In normal times, police brutality in our country is a terrible fact and a hard truth. But even in times of pandemic, it is visible. It is visible that how from North India to South, from East to West, policemen sometimes in our country, few of them don't think twice before hitting out at the common man, brutalizing them, chasing them with sticks, beating them up without asking any questions, first yielding the lathi and then asking who you are and where you're going. In the first few days, even when the lockdown was announced, that's what we saw. Because perhaps that's the only way some of these policemen believe they can bring in some kind of order, by thrashing people up on streets without following any rules or regulations. When jobless, hungry, fed up, homeless migrants were trying to go home, they were lathi charged. When shopkeepers were opening their shops simply to sell some essentials, they were lathi charged. Anybody who was seen on a bike, in a car in the first few days were first beaten and then they were asked questions about what's going on. I am simply giving you examples of a lockdown time when the entire country is supposed to be inside their house, yet the police has somehow managed to find these spaces to carry out brutality. Imagine the extent of brutality, the high number of custodial deaths that happen in our country that go unpunished. And so I've got two more guests joining us right now for a nationwide view. Tamil Nadu is second on that list. The highest number of custodial deaths, as per the data of 2018, actually took place in Gujarat and then Tamil Nadu. How do we fix this problem? Mr. Vikram Singh, good evening to you. Former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, Jayaraj Ansari, senior journalist. Mr. Ansari, what we have seen in Thoothukudi the last 1 week is a classic example of how some of those who are in uniform abuse the system, do what they want, beat up people, kill them in custody, and then there is a cover-up. The system at every level seems to, try and save them rather than helping the victim's family.
In fact, in this case, what has happened is way beyond normal. It's bestiality. And if reports are to be believed, then not only were they beaten up and then killed in custody, but they were sexually assaulted as well, both father and son. I mean, I cannot imagine a fate worse than this. And it's high time that, no amount of cover-up should be allowed. It's high time that these people are dealt with and made a prime example of. The reason why people get away with with breaking the law, while policemen get away with these kind of acts is because there is very little accountability in our system. The moment we start enforcing it and universally enforce the law, what is good for civilians is also good for policemen. And nobody can take the law into their hands. They must be dealt with severely, and a public example should be made of so that others will think a million times before doing what they have done.
I just want to read out some statistics as I go across to Mr. Vikram Singh. 100 deaths in police custody in jails in India in 2017 where no one was convicted. This is data compiled by the National Crime Records Bureau, the NCRB itself, of which 58 people died in jail, 42 died when they were in police custody, and no justice was done in any of these cases. In fact, in 2018, as per the data available, there were 1,966 custodial deaths that took place, including 147 deaths in police custody and others in judicial custody. 147 deaths in police custody. Mr. Vikram Singh, I mean, if this doesn't scream police reforms, I don't know what does. How do we change this?
Tanvi, I'm shocked beyond words to see this level of depravity. And as Mr. Ansari has said, words of profound wisdom, that there is a subculture of protecting their own, which is totally unacceptable. The law states that the entire police station should be placed under suspension. A case under 302 has to be registered against those who are the immediate perpetrators of the violence. They should be sent to jail. And I would also recommend that in such cases, they should be dismissed from service via the provisions of Article 311 of the Constitution. In this case, Tanvi, you'd be shocked to know, and Mr. Ansari, that dismissal has not happened. Case under 302, murder has not been registered. If this is not courting the recipe of disaster, then what is? And not a single conviction, as you very rightly mentioned, the statistics in respect of 2017, 100 deaths in police custody, not a single conviction. Before a year that, 92 deaths in police custody, not a single conviction. Therefore, the obvious conclusion is that police leadership perhaps is looking the other way and shielding the defaulters. There is no other conclusion. And in this case, the police leadership should be cruel to be kind and ensure that there's zero tolerance to this kind of brutality. Police brutality does not do good to society, to the police, to the leadership, and to the good name of the police. All the good work done by the Tamil Nadu police has been brought to naught by the single episode, the ghastly incident. I wish the police leadership would step in and do damage control and see what went wrong. The Madras police is one of the oldest police forces in the country with lofty traditions. They are not known to be as violent as perhaps other police forces are. We had expected a lot more. Very shocking and disappointing to say the least. But I would say, yes, police reforms are imperative. The compulsions and the undue pressures to work out the cases is always there. But that does not mean that the police can take the lives of those innocent citizens who just crossed their path. And secondly, use of disproportionate force is never granted by law or the police regulations. This has to be taken very seriously. And as the Human Rights Commission mandates, there has to be an inquiry, a magisterial inquiry, as also a departmental inquiry. Until the time a police officer is not exonerated, he bypasses all promotion, all foreign postings, and all medals for the next 5 years. There are deterrent punishments. But I very seriously doubt if these instructions of the National Human Rights Commissions are ever implemented at all.
Yes, you're absolutely right. In fact, and like I said in the beginning, that let alone the regular times where this is the hard reality in our country, everybody gets upset about what happens in United States and wants to join that international campaign, but very conveniently forgets that in our country, police brutality in some or the other part of the country is literally happening every day. Let me read out some instances for our viewers who may have missed these stories. On 16th of April, viewers, a man went out to buy biscuits and he got so badly beaten up by the police in Uttar Pradesh that he, in a few days, died in the hospital. On April 16, Mohammad Rizwan, a 19-year-old, ventured out of his home to buy biscuits. He was beaten with rifle butts and lathis by the police, while the other residents continued to purchase their groceries from that shop. In a battered condition, he somehow managed to reach home. When at home, home remedies didn't work. Remember, this is in the middle of a lockdown that I'm talking about. By the time they got him to a hospital, he died in the wee hours of April 18. So badly he was beaten up. Why? Because he got out to buy some food to eat. On 20th of April, a man coming back after buying medicines allegedly died because of police beating. A 28-year-old died allegedly after being beaten up by the police for coming out for non-emergency work during the lockdown. This actually took place in Guntur district. So I am giving you examples from different states. The police said he was already suffering from chronic heart condition and they didn't beat him up. He died because of his heart condition. In Madhya Pradesh, here's another state and another example, also in the middle of a lockdown. Tibu Meda, a resident of Gotania in Maheshwar Tehsil, was actually allegedly beaten up by the police for violating the lockdown rules. And he was beaten up so badly that while somehow he managed to get home, escape, he was chased, caught again, beaten up until he died. Mr. Javed Ansari, so many of these stories, you've been part of the conversations, Mr. Vikram Singh has been. Unfortunately, what happens is that there is never an action against the police. They give us this whole story of there will be an investigation, we've suspended them. In your experience, can you remember cases where the policemen were actually criminally booked and prosecuted, or were they simply suspended and then shunted out?
Honestly, Tanvi, there are so few and so far in between that I can't instantly recall. I certainly do know that in some cases it has happened, but the number is so minuscule that it's very difficult to remember. And at the risk of repeating myself, I'll say again, one of the main reasons why people in authority get away by violating the law is because they know that there will be no accountability, that they will not be held accountable. I'm sure if you had an officer of the caliber of Mr. Vikram Singh, he would have put his money where his mouth is and suspended the whole police station. And this is, this is not peculiar to one state or one police. It's not just the UP police or the Bihar police or Punjab police.
Yes.
Unfortunately, power doesn't rest easy with us. If somebody is in charge of opening or closing the door, that person will also will try and flout his authority. So, and again, the reason for all this is that there are not enough checks and balances. Look what is happening in the United States. After George Floyd died, there's been so much of pressure, there's been so much of public pressure, media pressure, celebrities joining, people from the armed forces joining in, that even somebody like President Trump has had to issue orders reigning in the police. They are now thinking of banning the gridlock. So, where you have a responsive administration, where people, where they don't sit on prestige and are not afraid to act against their own, you will find that characteristics can be applied. But if you adopt an ostrich-like attitude where you are going to favor your own, you will only act against people, and you know that there are no checks and balances. I'm sorry, this will continue to happen, and Vikram Singh ji and myself and you, all of us will continue to debate it. The moment this debate is over, people will forget about it, because so many things keep happening, the issues get overwhelmed, events get overtake them, and we tend to forget. But it's, for God's sake, India deserves better, our people deserve better, and the police, for their own sake, need to do much better.
Yes, in fact, very quickly, Mr. Vikram Singh, to you this question: why is it that our own reaction is so cold when these kind of brutal incidents happen in our country? I mean, Mr. Jayaraj Ansari just gave the example of George Floyd. I think there were people in our country who were more outraged about that than what happens here, than what has happened to Jayaraj and his son. Then what happens in every single brutality case to those many migrants who were simply trying to get some food and trying to get home, who got badly beaten up as well. Why is it that we don't react to it? Is it because it happens so often?
Tanvi, I would say that charity begins at home. Being concerned about George Floyd is a very good thing. But I feel that the atrocities we inflict on ourselves, on Rizwan and the like of which, please let us understand that these people's citizenry, every case that you mentioned, did not pertain to a criminal. It pertained to an ordinary citizen, either who has gone out to buy medicines, to buy biscuits for his children, or to attend to the daily chores of his household. I would have expected a lot more. The police are supposed to be servants, the first responders or the first servants of the people. And I wish there are excellent examples who have run the extra mile to serve the people. But such examples are an eyesore and a curse, and the less said, the better about them. But yes, deterrence and zero tolerance to such incidents is the only answer. If you go to the YouTube, and I would strongly recommend that you go, there should be a ban of police officers wearing a uniform after being impacted by the cult of masculinity propagated by films like Dabangam and Singham and the like. Officers who could not venture out for 2 minutes in the sunlight, behaving as if they are Salman Khan incarnate. There should be a total ban on this cult of pseudo-masculinity in the police department. We are here to serve. We are here to be servants of the people and not to behave like overrated film stars. And then the police leadership has a role to perform. Every single life matters. That of Rizwan and every single person who lost his life. I'm sorry for that. Extremely sorry for that. But to atone for our sins, it is imperative that every single case is made an example and such deterrent action is given. People sent home, those who are defaulters sent home first, as they say, shoot first, apologize later. Bring that cult of masculinity when you're dealing with the defaulters in the uniform. There has to be zero tolerance, because if we do not, the barrel of the gun can come on you also.
Yes, and the defaulters in the uniform are more dangerous than the criminals outside, because they have the power, they have the gun, and they believe they have the right to do what they want without any explanation, without any justification, without any repercussions, which does happen more often than not. But this time, viewers, we are not going to stop until we see a fair investigation and fair action in this case, until we see justice being given to Jayaraj's family, Selvarani, and to her daughter. We are not going to stop asking questions, and no amount of assurances will work unless there is action on ground. Thank you so much, Mr. Jayaraj Ansari and Mr. Vikram Singh, for joining us on this conversation.